What if the reflection you saw in the mirror wasn't your present self, but your future? And what if one day that reflection moved before you did? This is the story of Mara, and the mirror that changed everything. Mara lived an ordinary life. She worked late shifts, paid her bills, scrolled through her phone at night before falling asleep. Nothing remarkable, nothing extraordinary, until her grandmother passed away and left her a single object, a tall antique mirror framed in silver, its glass dark and strangely cold to the touch. Mara placed it in her bedroom without thinking, but that night, everything changed. At 2:47 a.m., Mara woke with a start. Something felt wrong. She looked toward the mirror and froze. Her reflection wasn't lying in bed. It was standing right beside the glass, staring directly at her with eyes filled with urgency. Before Mara could scream, the reflection raised its hand and pressed it against the glass. Words formed on the foggy surface. "Don't go to work tomorrow." The next morning, Mara almost laughed it off. Almost. But a knot of fear twisted in her chest. Against her better judgment, she called in sick. Hours later, breaking news flashed across her phone. A gas explosion at the very building where she worked. Dozens injured. Mara's desk had been obliterated. Her knees buckled. She had been saved. By herself. From then on, the mirror became her silent guide. Every night the reflection moved, writing messages, warnings, choices. "Don't trust this person. Leave 5 minutes later. Take the left street, not the right." At first, Mara was terrified. Then she was grateful. She began to live differently, avoiding accidents, sidestepping betrayals, seizing opportunities she never would have seen. She rose quickly at work. She found money, friendships, even romance. But soon, gratitude twisted into obsession. Mara stopped making her own choices. She waited every night for the mirror's instructions, unable to live without them. And then, the reflection changed. It was no longer calm, no longer kind. One night, it scrawled a chilling command across the glass. "End it with Daniel. Tonight." Daniel was the man she loved. The man who had brought her joy after years of loneliness. "Why?" Mara whispered, but the reflection's eyes burned with dread. "If you don't, he will die." Mara sobbed, but obeyed. She broke Daniel's heart, shattering her own. Days later, he survived a car accident he would have been in with her. Her reflection had been right. Again. But at what cost? Weeks passed. Mara followed every instruction. She was alive. She was safe. But she was no longer herself. She lived like a shadow, a puppet on strings pulled by the mirror. And then one night, when she demanded answers, the reflection hesitated. Its lips moved for the first time, soundless, but Mara understood. "I am saving us from becoming me." Her blood froze. The reflection wasn't a savior. It was her. A future Mara, broken, desperate, trying to reshape the past. The mirror wasn't showing guidance. It was showing what she would become if she kept obeying. Mara realized she was trapped in a loop. Every time she followed the instructions, she was one step closer to becoming that desperate reflection. Every time she resisted, she felt danger coil tighter around her. The mirror wasn't giving her freedom, it was stealing it. One night, the reflection did something different. It didn't write warnings. It didn't plead. It pressed both palms against the glass, eyes wide with terror, and mouthed a single word. "Run." The mirror trembled. Cracks spread across its surface like lightning. Mara stumbled back, heart pounding. Shadows seeped through the cracks. Faces, hands, echoes of futures that had never been screaming in silence. The reflection shattered, replaced by 1,000 versions of her own face. Older, younger, broken, twisted. The mirror was no longer a guide. It was a prison, 1,000 futures clawing to escape. And Mara was next. She grabbed a chair and smashed the glass. The mirror exploded, shards flying, reflections splintering into nothing. For a moment, silence, relief, freedom. But then Mara realized the reflection hadn't disappeared. It had stepped through. Standing in her bedroom was her future self, flesh and blood, trembling with rage and sorrow. "You shouldn't have done that," the older Mara whispered. "Now, we both pay the price." From that night, time broke for Mara. Days repeated, hours skipped, memories tangled. Sometimes she woke in her own bed. Sometimes she woke years ahead, in places she didn't know, beside people she didn't recognize. Sometimes she looked in the mirror and saw no reflection at all. And through it all, her future self followed, always just a step behind, whispering warnings, screaming regrets, chasing her across shattered timelines. Mara ran and ran and ran. But deep inside, she knew the truth. She could not outrun herself. And so she made one final choice. One night, Mara stood before the ruins of the mirror, bleeding hands clutching the largest shard. She raised it to her chest, heart pounding. "If I end now, the loop ends with me." Her reflection reached for her, eyes wide with horror. But Mara smiled, for the first time in months. "Every reflection is just a possibility," she whispered. "And this is mine." She drove the shard down. Light exploded. And then, silence. No one knows what became of Mara. Some say she died that night. Others whisper she broke free, her reflection gone forever. But if you ever stand before an old mirror late at night, look carefully. Watch closely. Because sometimes the reflection doesn't wait for you to move. And when that happens, your story may no longer be your own.